calling Meld crew. This is producer Jared. Do you copy, fellas? Christian, Jerry, Patrick, damn it, come in. Is anyone even recording? Signal scrambled again.
Do you read me? Do I gotta shout through the ceiling? Do I gotta slide through a mean feed? Fell down the thought hole too deep. Woke up in a stream full of bad takes. No breaks, no facts, just clickbait. Phone buzz like a hive mind, but the mic's hot and it's my time. Backlog with wild notes. Topics got no lifeboats, and we ad-lib like ghosts. Round table in flight mode. Echo through a SoundCloud static laced. Mel fam got that rabbit chase. Think piece in a crash space. No map, but we still navigate. We play mics on the wheel, whether vibing on a rant or we lost in the field. Mics on the wheel, deep thoughts in free fall. 3 minds, no recall. Streaming through a podcast, still no plan at all. Is this thing live or posthumous? Talk loops like multiverse consciousness. Tinfoil hat in the console. And my brain's like, nah bro, I'm spiraling out on tangents. Bit of facts, bit of madness. I ask a cereal soup, and we deadlocked for 2 hours, dude. Discord chat got smoke signals, clip laughs and dope jingles. Jerry with the hot takes like Batman could beat Kratos. Every fact check is a fiasco. We just vibe out with fiascos, and I write notes in the dark, but my thoughts got Velcro. And we play mics on the wheel, whether vibing on a rant or we lost in the field. Mics on the wheel, metal pot in black space, but the laughs still cascade. Orbiting insanity like it's home base. Is there life beyond this show? Or did I just blink into the outro? I got files but forgot where. Could've sworn that guest was on air. Now I'm editing in slow doom with a snack tray and no room. Christian speaking in riddles, Jerry derailed the whole Zoom. Every app's like a brain maze, Patrick in a loop like same day. Might check like Morse code, but the jokes stay in warp mode. Thinking big on the small things, AI ghosts and fall kings. From hot dogs to ethics, we blend chaos with blessings. Houston, we lost track again. Listeners pinging in from alternate timelines. Spotify got us filed under who knows. Transmission fuzzed. Still we go. And we play mics on the wheel, whether vibing on a rant or we lost in the field. Mics on the wheel, deep dives inside quests. 3 brains, no rest. From the void to your speakers, we still do it best.
Hey, all right, man. That was good, dude.
That was good. Turned out really nice.
It did. It did. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Doing good.
Okay, good. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Chris. We got Patrick and Jared. Some housekeeping. Jerry's going to show up a little bit later. It sounds like he was taking his granddaughter to a track meet, but we expect him on a little bit later. Hey, Aaron. So some housekeeping from the last couple of weeks. Just an active tracker. Last week we said we're going to talk about the duck pin bowling incident. Which we will probably when Jerry gets back on. Ideas for top comments, our plan for TikTok, and then going over the dating profiles. So those are things that we're going to wait for Jerry to get on because it would probably be rude, maybe not to. So with that, I would say let's get into some of our other topics to discuss. One of the things that I was thinking about in this, in the world we're in right now, is home buying. Like a lot of people are trying to buy homes, they can't. It may or may not be the best time to buy. Sometimes it doesn't matter if it's the best time to buy. You need a house, you need a place to live. So I figured it'd be a good idea for us, the 3 of us, to kind of discuss our experiences and get some experiences from people in the chat too. Some maybe pitfalls, some boons that we could we can all share. So with that, I guess I can start with my experience and everybody's experiences, which is kind of like the point of the show really, are completely different. There's no, just because I say this worked for me, it might not work for anybody else, or it might be actually wrong. Like I might be doing shit the wrong way, and it just happened to work for me. Or you might be doing shit the right way, and then it just falls through. So, my experience is that, let's see, I bought my first bought a condo when I think I was 20 years old. I dropped out of school, so I started working since I was 15, and rented rooms and stuff, and then finally got to a point where my daughter was born, and I was like, oh well, let's look to buy a place, and I did have some help. If you can get help, get help. But we didn't have much financial help. My mom and my stepfather, back then you could do this. I don't think you could do this now. I know you can't do this now, but back then you could inflate like a bank account, right? And then it shows that you've got X amount of dollars in the bank, and if it stays there for like 6 months or whatever, they would do. That's like as far of a check as they would do. So they put like 20 grand in my bank, so it looked like I had like that much money in the bank. It wasn't my money, but that's what gave me, helped me get the loan. And when I got the house and everything, I just gave them their 20 grand back, which was super helpful. But that was how we were able to buy the condo that we had, which actually my ex-wife still lives in.
So what year was this actually?
Shit, man. This was about 25 years ago, maybe. Yeah, it was about 25 years ago. Let's see. Maybe 27 years ago. 26, 20, it's between 25 and 27 years ago. Yeah.
Thank you, old man.
In Northern Virginia. Yeah. And then my ex-wife's still in that place actually. She might have it paid off, which is good for her. But then after that, I found myself in other places, but as far as home buying goes, I bought another house in fast forward to 2000, and I want to say it was 2008, like the worst time to buy a house.
Mm.
And I had just gotten through a divorce by this point, and I was not expecting to get remarried, and I ended up buying a townhouse. So it went from condo to townhouse. Again, we're just talking about buying houses. We're not talking about everything in between, the apartments and all that stuff. Ended up buying a townhouse with my buddy Trevor actually, and like I had the upstairs and he had the downstairs, and it was going to be like this this bachelor pad. And I just happened to meet my current wife when I was closing on the house. So yeah, you know what, Aaron, the best part of it for me on my current house where I'm at now is actually being an inspector. But that house in 2008 or whatever it was, it just got upside down. It was a shitty loan. If you guys there was a fucking a recession. Everything got upside down. The loan got upside down. We paid way too much for the house. We didn't know what we were doing. And ultimately, this is not a bad thing. It's I'll give it out as advice in specific situations. If you don't want to if you're under like by hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars or whatever, it's not always a bad idea to go bankrupt, and depending on which bankruptcy you filed for. And that's what we ultimately did. So, skipping around a little bit, ultimately I lived in that house for like 14 years, 12 or 14 years, me and Trevor. And then, so like I said, I met who was going to be my wife. We started dating. So she moved in. I never expected it to get to like, we're still married, you know what I mean? Never expected it to get serious. So we're all living in this house, and it was nice. I mean, it's a nice house. But at some point we're like, well, shit, man, I don't want to, nothing against my buddy Trev, but at some point me and my wife want to, not live with Trevor.
Wrong place. Yeah.
And we were thinking about it, and it was like, well, shit, man, how I had a good job. I had a great job. Well, I had a good paying job. I was making, by the time I left there, I was making like 6 figures, and making the money wasn't a problem. But I didn't want to pay for the house myself, right? Like I didn't think we could afford it by like buying Trevor out. And we didn't need it. So I'm kind of struggling. Like, okay, I don't want to, if I file for bankruptcy, right? I don't want to leave Trevor hanging with a house that he's got to pay for. And then one day he came up to me and he said, so the way it worked, the dynamic was we would pay him my half of the mortgage and then our portions, me and my wife's portions of the utilities, and he would pay everything off. Well, he came to me one day and he's like, hey man, I don't know how to tell you this. And background me, I've known this is my boy, man. Like we're still buds today. We've known each other since we were like 9 years old. You know what I'm saying? We were in fucking Cub Scouts. He's still mad that I got like a Weebelow's like fucking award or some shit because I made like a fucking camera out of a bar of soap in the Cub Scouts one time. And he got kudos for it. And he was like jealous or some shit. I don't know. He still brings that fucking shit up. Anyway, he comes up to me and he's like, hey man, I don't know how else to tell you this. I lost my job like 4 months ago. And, I just thought I was going to get a job real quick and it never happened. He was really, he was emotional and he was like, I haven't been paying the mortgage. And I'm like, well, you know what, man, don't worry about it. It's whatever, it's just fucking money, man. We'll figure it out. And then I'm like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Me and my wife are just trying to figure out how to get out of this house without fucking you. So you fucking me is actually a really good thing. And a long story short, I ended up seeing a bankruptcy attorney to find out what the options, or, if I could even, with my income, if we could even do it. And just so you guys know, here's how it works. If you have a mortgage with somebody, and let's say that mortgage is like $400,000. Okay. It doesn't, and we were both on the mortgage. Me and Trevor both on the mortgage. I just assumed that meant I owe 200, he owed 200. It's not. You each owe 400,000. So, yeah. So, that's important, because my bankruptcy attorney was able to, show that, okay, he will not be able to, pay for this. He's going to file for bankruptcy, even though I could stretch it. We didn't want to. And I talked to Trevor, said, hey, this is what we're doing. I suggest you do the same thing. He did the same thing. And, we got out from under it. And that's a process. There's different types of bankruptcies. I get them mixed up, the different chapters or whatever. I think it's a 11 or something. Yeah, there's a chapter set. So whichever one is which, one of them is like, okay, I want to keep my house, but I can't afford it. So I want that bankruptcy. Right. And then you get rid of all your credit card debts and you get all this. And then what happens is all your creditors come together and you come to an agreement. You pay X amount of dollars every month. And if you start getting more money, you pay more. If they watch your fucking books like a hawk, see if you got any more money incoming, if you're spending more than you said you could. But then the other one is like, I don't want any of this shit. I just don't want any debt. And that's what we opted for. Like, I didn't want to keep the house. We were actually looking to get out of the house. So, I think it's like chapter 11 or 12 or some shit. We did that.
Chapter 7, title 11 for liquidation processes.
Is that it? Yeah. Okay. Chapter 7. So that's what we did. And, that whole thing is a fucking process. I mean, so this is good to know if you're in a similar situation or find yourself in one. So basically what happens is, anything that you owe, like I had like a $20,000 hospital bill that I owed $20,000 for a 3-day stay in a hospital, that I was just paying off. And I was like, nope, that's gone. You don't have to deal with that anymore. The mortgage, nope, that $400,000 or whatever, that's gone. Now I kept the car because I needed my car. So I'm still making payments to the car. So you don't have to do all or nothing. You know what I mean? You select what you want to keep paying for. And another super interesting thing is how messed up the mortgage companies are. Like they're upside down. Like they don't have the manpower or I don't know what the fucking deal is, but it takes them forever to do anything. So if you're ever in this scenario, and I got this from my bankruptcy attorney at the time, he advised me this, and it went down exactly like he said it would. So you've got a loan, you got a mortgage. He said, first off, just stop. If you're going bankrupt, just stop paying. Just don't fucking pay him anything. Even while it's still getting worked out, even though you're not bankrupt yet, just stop paying. It's like, okay, no problem. Then once the bankruptcy once they realize that you're not paying them, they'll reach out to you. And that's what happened. They start reaching out to you like, hey, we see you're having troubles. Can, and they'll give you 90 days every time. It's 90 days. Here's a new rate. Here's a new interest rate. Here's a new loan payment, whatever. Respond in 90 days. He says on day 89, that's when you respond that you're not interested. Just wait. Just take all 3 of those months before you respond. And then boom, and another 90 days goes by, you get another. So you just keep kicking that can down the road, and you're living in your house, you pay utilities, you know what I mean? You got to keep your water and your power on. But you keep kicking the loan can down the road. And then eventually your mortgage company is going to sell your mortgage to another mortgage company. And that's exactly what happened. So we kicked the can down the road with Wells Fargo and we're not doing it. It's nothing illegal. I said specifically, I don't want to do anything illegal. I don't want to be a fucking squatter. I don't want to, you know what I mean? He's like, no, this is normal. And he was absolutely right. This is totally normal. Then Wells Fargo sells the loan to another bank. And then they send you a letter. Hey, look, we understand you're having problems with your loan. You got 90 days to respond. Are you okay with this new rate? And you wait 89 days and you say no. And then they do the same thing. So you kick this fucking can down the road. We kicked that can down the road for like a year and a half.
Oh my God.
And so it got to a point where I'm like, I'm getting nervous. I'm like, okay, at some point, well, me and my wife, we want to move, right? We want to go on to the next chapter, right? The only thing we were paying, we were still working. We still had jobs. The only thing we were paying was my car payment, the utilities, and then the fucking HOA, but they had our parking spaces. So if we didn't pay the HOA, we would lose our parking spaces. So those were our only bills, outside of groceries and stuff. And at some point it was like, shit, we got to get out of here. So I'm trying to get ahead of it. Right. I'm not waiting for a sheriff to, just throw me out. And I reached out to the attorney for the new bank, and cause they were the ones sending the letters like, hey, you gotta, none of them are saying you got to move. None of them are eviction notices or anything. They're just like warnings and, the house is going into foreclosure, which was part of the plan. Right. And what the fuck? I heard the word before, but I don't know what that shit means. You know what I mean? Specifically, like legally, what does that mean? When do I got to leave my fucking house? That's the question. Right. And so I called them up and they were super nice, man. It wasn't like, I didn't have to pay anything or whatever. Like, yeah, come on in. We'll talk to you. And I shit you not, man, this lawyer, I sit down in his office and, he said, this happens. This is normal. As weird as this shit is, it's fucking normal. People have so many rights when it comes to being evicted that they are so used to people just staying, even though they've been evicted, that they even offer to pay people to leave. I'm like, dude, I don't even want to get into that, dude. I just want to, leave when I need to leave, man. And he says it's a 2-part scenario. These lenders are so overwhelmed with work that they don't have time. That's why they let the can get kicked, right? And then ultimately they know, okay, we're eventually going to short sell this house. If in a hypothetically, if the people that were squatting basically left right away, well, then these houses would fall in disrepair because there's nobody living in them for a year. So it's like, it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. They kind of want you to fucking squat in these houses until it gets foreclosed on or short sale or whatever the fuck, man. So he told me the whole process. He's like, yeah, here's what happens, man. In about 60 days, you're going to get a note from the sheriff that gives you 30 days to go to a court date. And then usually, you could dispute it. And then, nobody can kick you. And then if you dispute it or appeal it. And he says, people do it all the time. They've got no business being in a house, but they'll go to the court date and appeal it. And the judge gives them 60 days for the appeal process. And so they get like another, they just keep fighting tooth and nail. And you could feasibly kick that. You live in that house for another year before somebody physically, it takes a lot to get physically removed from that situation, which we weren't in that game. I'm like, okay, in about 60 days, I'm going to start looking for an apartment. He's like, yeah, that's fine. But he said it gets to the point where they will pay people like $5,000. Hey, we'll pay for your moving costs. Just get the fuck out of the house because we're trying to sell it. It's fucking crazy, man. So that was my second house. And so the takes 2 years for that bankruptcy, right? To what is it? I forgot there's a term for it, but you're not bankrupt anymore. You just have zero credit. And we were there. And then 4 years after that, so 6 years total, I guess. I was almost in the house for that entire time for like a year and a half. I was I wasn't paying the mortgage, and I was, the bankruptcy was discharged. In 2 years it gets discharged, I think is what it was.
You're wrong.
And that,
You're fucking poor.
So my wife and I are in this apartment for another 4 years when we're thinking of it's COVID. It's fucking COVID time, baby. We're all in lockdown. And I was thinking, you know what? Let's see if we can buy a house during COVID with the interest rate so low. And it just the timing, it was like the moons and stars on shit like all aligned. Because I didn't know this, but most lenders make you wait for 4 years after your discharge, after your bankruptcy's discharged, before they'll even consider giving you a loan, even if your credit is good. Well, this just fell on like right at the same time. Like my 4 years is up in September, and we were looking to buy a house in October. We ultimately bought this house in November, so it just like the stars aligned.
Oh wow.
Yeah, dude.
Perfect.
And I was always told never take money out of your 401k or your savings and stuff. But this was one of those times where like the interest rates were under 3%. And then on top of that, the CARES Act for COVID didn't it absolved you of the IRS penalty for withdrawing early, which is 10%. So I'm like, well, shit, man. And I don't pay attention to this shit. You know what I mean? I don't pay attention to 401ks or whatever. It's just, I just put the money in and I never look at it. And it's like, I don't know. It could be going away. I could be getting screwed right now. I probably am actually with the, whatever's going on. But, I checked, I found all the passwords and shit. And I checked and I had like, this is from my old job from like 8 years before. I've never put a dime in since. It had like 60 grand in it or something. I'm like, holy shit. So I did the math. I'm like, well, if I take the money out, I need like 28 grand for the down payment and closing costs. And I'm like, well, shit, man, even if I did pay 10% on that, that's only like 3 grand. But I would get into my house like now, as opposed to my original plan, which is wait another 5 years and save up the down payment. Right. That would be like right now. I would be looking for a house. I would have been living in my apartment for 6 years and looking for a house right now, wasting all that money with rent. So in hindsight, it was a good call. And yeah, we ended up finding this place. And that's when being an inspector really helped out, because nobody's offering home inspections anymore. And Patrick, I don't know if this is the same everywhere, because I know you've bought places in other states and stuff. But buying a house now, no longer, like it used to be, the seller always just provided you with an inspection report from a home inspector. Those days are gone, man. That's not like a thing anymore. So I was able to like do my own research and I do my own inspections. Like, yep, that roof's not new. That fucking AC unit's been here for 15 years. I'll be replacing that bitch for 10 grand or whatever. So like, I kind of, when I found my house, it's like, okay, this guy did a lot of fucking unpermitted work, but I can inspect it myself. So I know it's okay. So the only thing wrong with unpermitted work is that it's not been inspected. That's why you look out for unpermitted work. You don't know who fucking did that shit and how fucked up it is. But I know as an inspector how fucked up it is. So like, I was okay with this shit being not perfect, but more importantly, it was less than 5 years old. So like all my mechanical systems, my electrical, all my big ticket shit was less than 5 years old when I bought the house. So it was a gamble that I was willing to take. And yeah, the house was up for 350 grand. This is in 2020. And we had been looking at houses around that price point, right? So my max, I was approved for like 425, but I'd known, look, I don't want to go over 375, dude. I don't want to pay that. I don't want to be house poor, you know what I mean? Or whatever the fuck. So But we've been seeing these houses get gobbled up. Like I'd see a house like on a Friday night just get listed, and then I'll text my realtor, hey, can we look at this in the morning? She's like, no problem. That next morning comes, that house is sold. Like somebody paid cash for it over fucking night. Like, cash money, man, overnight. That's how quick these things were getting gobbled up by the flippers, I guess. So we found this one for $350. My fucking realtor is like, well, you got to give them the full $375. I'm like, well, yeah, I know you're getting a commission and all, but let's she mentioned that here's something to look out for when you're buying a house. If the seller does not have a place to live, like if they haven't already bought a house or have one lined up, they can do a buyback from you. And most lenders don't exceed 2 months. I don't know if that's a law or something, or maybe it's state to state too. I don't know. But that happened to be the case with the sellers of this house. They didn't have another house lined up. So I said, well, let's offer them, $365 for the house, but give them full autonomy. Let them stay here for up to as long as they want, up to 2 months. And the way,
wow, you're really nice.
yeah, it worked out for me though, because I was fucking juggling my new mortgage with the lease that I was paying at my apartment. I was trying to not the overlap, right? Because that's you're juggling shit. You know what I mean? Hey, what's up, Aaron? And it just worked out. So me giving them 2 months actually gave me a month off my lease. So they took the offer. They accepted the offer, and that's the main reason they accepted the offer, was because we gave them that freedom to take 2 months to go find a house to live in. So when you're buying a house, that's something to ask. And another thing, read the fucking contract, because don't just, I always tell people, put your realtor to work, make them do all the heavy lifting. But when you get that contract and they say bullshit like, oh, I looked at it, it's okay, but go ahead and review it yourself and sign it, fucking read that bitch. Because the way the buyback worked is a per diem. So they take the mortgage and they're basically paying you rent per diem for X amount of days that you agree on in your contract. Well, their real estate agent who, put the contract together had the per diem was like in half. So they really owed us it was like $5,000. But when I did all the math, I'm like, yo, what the fuck, dude? This is like $1,500. Back to the my real estate agent, I'm like, yo, what the fuck, man? And she's like, oh, my bad. I was and I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm glad I read that shit. So that's another thing. Make sure absolutely, Juicy. Make sure you read the fucking contract.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and hey, that's right, Patrick. So you deal with contracts a lot. I did a lot as a general contractor in my personal life, and there's a lot of air quotes like gotcha shit in there.
Yeah.
Most of it, man, it's not really got you. It's protecting me, right? Most people that write shit in contracts is protecting themselves. And if you don't catch it, you're screwing yourself by not catching it. Now, this was a got me if I didn't read it, because they just fucking fucked up, and whether or not they did it intentionally, I don't know. But anyway, Juicy, read the fucking contracts no matter what it is. Don't trust the person that, albeit you're paying them to be trusted. Use your own judgment, because a lot of these things are worded weird too. They're worded in like all this legalese, and it's like, I don't fucking understand that shit, man. But like, if you really read it, it is English. Well, that's my crash course and my home buying I guess career. Patrick, I know you're kind of you're probably a bit more experienced than me though. So what do you got?
So my first house was actually in California with my parents. So I lived in apartments pretty much my whole life. Pretty poor growing up, and this is around the time of 2009, 2010 when it crashed, when the recession hit, right?
Yep.
And then the housing prices just dropped, right? Luckily, it did drop because that's the opportunity for us. However, it dropped because of don't know if you guys remember, but because of the housing crisis, or
Yeah,
I
the
guess you
bubble
can
or
say
whatever.
the subpar loans, right? What ends up happening is,
And that's what got us. That's why our loan on that second house that we bought in 2008, it was we're fucking idiots, okay? But we didn't know at the time because everybody was all wrapped up in that shit. It was a balloon. So it had like a really good interest rate for like 15 years, and then after that it like they adjust the interest rate and you screw yourself. It was awful. It was dumb. Don't ever do that shit. But at the time, everybody was doing it. It was cool. Like, okay, well, we're going to sell the house in 7 years anyway. And it's like, fucking no, you're not. But yeah, I am familiar with the time. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and that's exactly what happened. And then bubble burst. Obviously, everybody started panicking. Houses are up for sale, and then same thing like what happened to you.
Yep.
Short sale houses, foreclosures, things like that. So, excuse me. So what ended up happening is we saw this house, or my parents saw this house that was going to go foreclosure, but they're doing a short sale instead. Short sale is pretty much right before foreclosure. You know, you don't want to get to the point of foreclosure. The bank is still trying to get some money back, right? Instead of going through the whole process, they're like, hey, we'll work with you, the seller, or I mean the owner, to try to sell this house as soon as possible, so we don't have to go through that whole process of bankruptcy and everything. And then they apparently they also don't have to file a official bankruptcy. I think it's something else. It does affect their credit score, but it doesn't go through the whole process of bankruptcy. But it's a short sale. So that's what happened. We saw this house in a great area, but it was listed a short sale for around 375.
Okay, yeah.
Great. In California, great area, huge lot, which is very rare in California.
Oh yeah, what was the size?
The lot is 10,000 square feet. The house itself is actually kind of small. It's only 1,000 some odd square feet, but it's 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, but it's built in the 1960s. Super old house. Old house.
Yeah, so is mine.
Lots of work needs to be done. Yeah. So yeah, a lot. You'll notice a lot of these older houses. They're built much better than the newer houses, but we can definitely talk about that later.
I was just gonna say, people say that shit all the time and they're fucking wrong, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm wrong. You didn't tell me about that one then. But so I'll tell you an experience about my new house, anyways. But because this is built newer. But anyways, so went through the whole process.
Real quick. I think where a lot of that comes from is when people move into new houses. A lot of the non-structural shit gets fucked up. Like they get annoyed because their lights aren't working or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, they don't make them like they used to." But they are a lot more. I can just tell you from my job that they're a lot more structurally sound. They're a lot more, there are a shit ton more I don't say environmentally friendly, but you're going to save a lot of money on the envelope. From the hot air and the passing of, they're weather tight basically. So they're built better now overall. But a lot of I hear that a lot. They don't make them like they used to. But go ahead.
That's interesting. I need to talk to you about that.
Because you know what? We could do a show. We could do a topic about that on one of our shows for sure. That's a good idea.
All right. Awesome. So anyways, ended up negotiating, got the house down to 350,000, got the house at 350,000, but then my
so you
parents
brought it down,
right? Yeah, we were able to negotiate with the bank and brought it down because they're still panicking, right? This is still in the recession stage.
Yeah, right.
And they weren't getting enough offers, and they're like, we need to get this gone. We need this gone. We need this house gone. So they're like 350. They're okay with it. And then but my parents couldn't afford it, right? So it was my income as well. So my sister's income, my income, my parents' income combined together to buy this house. And as you mentioned, remember how you mentioned where people can kind of inflate their bank account to buy a house, when the lender is checking. Well, during the recession, they implemented where you can't do that. You know,
Right. Yeah, I knew they stopped
because
doing that at some point.
yeah, they stopped doing that, and then they would check your bank account in the last year.
Because
So
assholes like me got away with it years before.
yes, exactly. So they check your bank account 1 year, like from the time you want to buy to the time
Yep.
that you're planning to close. They'll check one whole
Yep.
year, and then if there's anything shady where you suddenly get a huge sum of money within within a month or a couple months, even if it looks beyond your paycheck, they will ask you, "Hey, what did you do here?" Right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's what it is like right now. Like, well, at least it was 4 years ago when we bought our house. Like, if there is any discrepancy or you made an extra
Yep.
$100 this month instead of like 3 months before, it's like, yo, where did you get that $100 from? It's like you got these title companies calling or your lender calling you like, hey, we saw this, we need you to copy
Verify.
and email that us ASAP, or we can't get the loan done. Like it's crazy,
Oh,
man. Yeah, they're all
it,
up in your shit,
yeah,
dude.
exactly. I mean, I remember they were asking me for a $500. Like, I sold something on Facebook for like
Yeah.
$500. I threw it into my bank account. No joke. One day later, my lender calls me. Is like, "Hey, what's this $500 come from? Where did it come from?" I was like, "Oh, I sold something. What did you sell?" I was like, I don't know." I was like, "Does it matter? I sold a car part." I was like, I sold a car part." And then it's like, "Do you have pictures of the transaction?" I was like,
Yes, yeah, exactly,
"No."
that's what it is
I
now.
was
Yeah.
like, I could take a screenshot of my posting and how I marked sold. And then I was like, I didn't take a picture of the guy taking my part. And it's like, okay,
Right.
I think it should be fine. I was like, dude, it's $500. I was like, if $500 is gonna make or break this house or make or break me, I shouldn't be buying this house. And you should should get your check your loans checked out. But anyways, yeah, so bought the house. That was my first experience. Of course, I helped my parents pay for the monthly mortgage. Um, and then when my parents retired, I ended up assuming the mortgage. But because we're able to put a good amount of down, we also remodeled during that time. The mortgage was about 2,400, right? 2,400
Mhm.
wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad. I think the interest was like, it wasn't that bad either. It was about 5%. It was
That's not bad at
5%.
all. So, it was a 30-year loan?
30-year loan. 30-year
Yeah,
loan.
okay.
And then, but fast forward so I haven't bought a house from then till about I would say right before COVID, literally right before COVID. So I was looking for a house in Houston. So I now live in Houston. Looking for a house in Houston. I was like, you know what? I think it's about time I buy a house. This is back in 2021 when COVID happened. But it's
Yep.
like literally, like I said, right before COVID. COVID happened, I think, in March of 2020.
That's when the lockdown started, I think. It was
March in
April, I think.
2020.
Early April was when the lockdown itself
Yep. Yep.
started,
So
but
April.
March it was in full swing. Yeah.
Yeah. So March, April, around that time frame. I was looking at a house. What's up, Cryptonics?
Hey, what's up, crypto?
So looking for a house around that time, and then found a house and got, hey, Jerry's on. Got a house around my area, around my work area, which is awesome. And then COVID happened. And then panic started. I panicked because I was living in an apartment, and then they gave me the new lease renewal, and I was like, okay. I was like, I'm looking for a house, so I'm not going to renew my lease. But then all of a sudden, COVID happened, and then panic ensued. When I say panic ensued, literally the whole housing market shut down, as in
Yep.
because we cannot go look at houses. We cannot we can't. Social distancing was a huge thing. You can't leave your place. I mean, it was huge because everybody was like, oh, what's happening here? Everything that involves contact, especially like people going into other people's houses and obviously spreading COVID, is not okay, right? So
Yes,
the whole place shut down.
yes, not good.
Yes, but by that point, I have already done I already done my inspection. This is before COVID happened, before the whole lockdown. We heard about it, but people were still working and so forth. So got the inspection done, got everything done, was negotiating, and all of a sudden, um, um, everybody started panicking, and I was panicking. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna back out. I even though I spent all this money, I'm gonna lose my earnest money and everything. I was like, you know what? I'm backing out because there's way too much risk. Way too much risk. So what ended up happening was the the other family also was in that situation where they bought a house. They're also in the position. They were planning on moving out.
Yep.
At the end of March. So
Oh,
they
man.
were also in that situation, and they're like, hey, but then they were further along, as in they've already agreed and already signed the contract and everything, and then they're planning on taking over the keys like literally the next day. Like they already signed it, and they're
Yeah.
like, hey, you can't back out anymore. Like we need this to go through.
We need a place to live.
But yeah, exactly. So but luckily it wasn't one of those situations where they depended on the money from this house. So they had money, but then they were like, hey, we can't pay for 2 mortgages, right?
Yeah. You
So
can't pay for 2 mortgages, and they probably don't want to. That's a good point, because I've heard this happen to, like, I've known people that this has happened to outside of the COVID and everything, where they went to go buy a house and everything was fine. Go to the settlement, the closing, and it's not fine. And now you've already sold your house, and you don't have a house to move into, and now you're living in a hotel for 2 months.
yeah.
You don't. Not only do you want to not do that, because you're paying for storage and everything, and it just fucking sucks in general. I would imagine you really don't want to fucking do that during COVID lockdown when everybody's
Yes, it
fucking
was.
dying.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. But that actually that worked into my favor, because I
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
able. I was like, you know what? I've been back out, and they're like, how about we give you concessions? Like what can we do to make sure you keep this house? I was like, you know what? We had all these issues. I'm not comfortable paying more than 250. I probably should have went lower, but they're like 250, and they're like, sold, take it,
Holy
250.
shit!
And then they were selling it for 300. Yeah. And then we agreed at 270.
Wow.
And then I was like, I don't want to pay more than 250. And I was like, I don't even have like washer, dryer, fridge, and I can't go buy them. I was like, there's too much stress. And then they're like, we'll give you all of it. We'll give you the washer, dryer, fridge. I was like, what else do you need? I was like 250. I guess everything I'm okay with. And it's like,
So
fine,
250
250.
and about 15 grand, 10-15 grand worth of appliances.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And they're pretty new too. I was like, okay, I guess, but it's still a lot of risk, because I don't know what's going to happen in the housing market. But I just went ahead and just went in and got the house, and then it turned out well, because I got it for a really good price.
Wait, this is the house in Houston?
Yeah, this is the house in Houston.
So this is the one that, okay, all right, yeah, okay, all right, go ahead, yeah.
And then you know about my whole saga. I already told you about that. But yeah, and then I rented out the rooms. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get at. Yeah, right.
Yep. So I bought this house with the idea that I'm going to house hack. Obviously, during COVID, it was horrible, but actually, it worked to my favor, because the apartments weren't taking applicants because of the shutdown. So guess what? Who's taking applicants? Obviously,
Patrick.
people like me. Exactly. So found 3 people. Well, one of them was my friend that moved here for a job, but ended up hitting the lockdown, and then she was stuck, and she's like, hey, can I stay at your place? Because I was looking for an apartment, but then they wouldn't show me anything, and then they wouldn't open to show anyone. So it was perfect. So she's like, she signed a lease for me for 1 year, and then I posted it on Facebook, got all the rooms filled within 1 week.
Yeah, I remember we were gaming around that time, and so just for, I guess, the people in chat, how Patrick and I know each other's from gaming. We were gaming, and you were telling me, I was interested in the scenario, because I hadn't lived with roommates in a long time. And I remember before we bought my ex-wife and I, before we bought our first condo, we actually had we were renting my mom's old townhouse. So we were like I was like this 19-year-old landlord, because I would rent the rooms from the townhouse to my other friends and other people. So we rented out like 3 or 4 rooms. And that was a fun house to be around if you were, one of my friends at the time, I guess. But I hadn't lived that life in so long, and then to hear you, I was vicariously living through you running out your room and dealing with some of the bullshit. Right? There's some bullshit with that.
Yeah, a lot of bullshit. But here's what's great: my mortgage, again, during COVID, I got a pretty good rate because everything kind of shut down, and then the rates just dropped significantly. I think I got 3.25, which is, obviously it was the beginning of COVID. It wasn't like the prime of COVID where the rates were like below 3, but it wasn't too bad.
In your experience, I don't know the answer. Are the interest rates like they're set nationwide, or do they differ from state to state?
So they're pretty. They
call it the Fed. I'm assuming it's federal.
So yes,
I don't know
it's nationwide.
Yeah.
It's nationwide. However, certain areas have, like, they would have, I would say, about 100 basis points or a couple 100 basis points difference. So it's not like significant, but then like rates in California would be a little bit higher than rates, in the more rural areas, right?
Yep.
Just so that you can try to attract more people to the rural areas, because it's harder to sell a house. You give them better rates versus California, or maybe like in a heavily populated area in California, that rates will be a little bit higher.
Gotcha. Speaking of track, I believe we might, Jared, do we have Jerry back from his track meet?
We do.
Do we want to pull him in?
We do.
Or do we want to just keep him out?
No, we'll pull him in.
Okay. All right. Oh shit. I'm so glad you got the mustache back, man. That's great.
I didn't get the mustache back. I just got rid of the beard.
Yeah, I got you. I understand.
Hey,
How's
Jerry,
everybody doing today? I'm doing very well. Ziggy did great in her track meet.
Thanks.
Give her our congratulations. Give her our best. Can she can't hear us, can she?
No, she can't hear.
Hell yeah,
everyone at the podcast said they're proud of you, Boo Boo.
Well, no, I did. I don't see anybody else saying that.
She doesn't fucking care. Let's go, baby. We gotta get her a Big Mac meal now.
Oh, we got the chat. The chat is asking how the car's holding up.
The car's great, man. The freaking drain. Who's in the chat asking about my business?
Juicy.
Borak.
Brad.
Borat.
Go order your food for all by yourself.
They're calling you Borat.
Very nice.
Borat? Borat?
That's you.
I guess
buddy.
that's hilarious.
It is.
I can't see the chat right here.
Yeah, well, we're just trust.
Get whatever you want.
Yeah, you will never get this.
Yeah, and it
We're
was.
having a podcast from McDonald's today.
So how was the track? How was the track meet?
So she's kind of an inside kid, kind of not an inside kid. So she doesn't really like track. But she on her last race she passed a girl, and then she on the home stretch she took off burned rubber, and I was supposed to videotape it for Eli, but I did it wrong. You know that thing where you record something, you accidentally don't push the button, and then you don't record, you push the button thinking you're stopping it. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Baby, go order a 10-piece nugget meal. 10-piece nugget meal. Just tell the guy when he comes to the counter you want a 10-piece nugget meal.
Yeah. Hey, why don't
you know how to do it?
Why don't you show the class your arm tat? A lot of people like that one. No, not that one. Nope. Wrong. Wrong.
I don't have.
Nope.
Oh.
There you go. All the X's right there.
Damn.
Not all of them though.
No, just
One's
just
not
the significant one. Oh, are we doing a tattoo show? A tattoo topic today?
We just did.
Oh, okay. It's all over.
We're just giving me more content to create.
Ziggy's ordering her own food at McDonald's and paying for her own food. And she,
She's a big girl now.
I don't know how to do it. How old is she? Gonna learn today. She's 8 or 9.
Oh, she got
9. I think she's 9. Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
I made my kids do it when they were fairly young. She's kind of spoiled.
Yeah, important. Yeah, and I mean, the track thing, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe she likes something else. Just as long as they get the exposure.
Oh yeah. You got to force kids to go out and do sports up until a certain age.
Yeah,
I tell you what, man, those guys at that track meet, it's like a national organization, right? So there was probably 1,000, 1,500 people there, and like these kids are decked out. Like when you watch the Olympics and you see like the big star with like orange hair and a pink armband or something and 2 different shoes. Like these little 5 and 10-year-old kids are like geared up like that. I can't imagine the training they're going through. I actually think it's like too much for a young kid. Like 5 years old shouldn't be at a track meet for 1,500.
It's a tightrope. I've known people that have had like kids in travel soccer, like high up, shit like that, and it's a lot of pressure. And it's, you know what I mean? There's a fine line between, wanting the best for your kid and then really wanting the best for yourself through your kid.
Yeah, exactly. That's
exactly
what it is. It's right. And now it's about money, I think. I feel like it's about money.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. This guy told me, he's like, some of these fucking parents, man, they're just like, you could just tell they don't even give a shit. They just want that fucking college tuition paid for.
Yeah. College tuition, the professional salary, all that stuff. It's really disgusting. I didn't really think about money, but it's ultimately what it is. It's really just like parents wanting to relive their childhood and make sure their kid can support them when they turn 50 or whatever. It's gross. There was a lot of MILFs there though.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Speaking of that, how did last night go?
Well, for those who don't know,
I didn't tell anybody.
I wanted to take out the hairdresser lady because she has a derriere that will not quit, and so I didn't want to be a creep and just be like, hey, let's go get drunk at the bar. So I asked all the ladies at work to go, and only one showed up. And she got I was buddy with the bartender, right? And I'm doing a podcast, baby. So you can wave your hand and show me stuff, but you can't walk over, okay? So she had 3 Long Islands, but I was buddy with the bartender. So he like hooked it up. I asked for a top shelf Long Island. And so I think he like really hooked it up. And so she drank one and she was fine. It was kind of a boring date. It reminded me of Crystal's story where he like went on the date with the retail girl and she was just boring as hell. But I got a couple sat down because the place was pretty packed. And baby, you got to listen for your number to be called. So a couple sat down with us. I invited them to sit down. I was a little high and half drunk. So I was like, oh, hey, everyone sit with us. So they sat down. They bought us a drink. So she got a second Long Island top shelf. And then after that, I bought her another one. So she had 3 solo cup Long Islands that were top shelf and probably over liquorized. So then we start dancing. And Chris, I'm sure you know that I can't dance. And Jared and Pat, you could probably look at me and tell I can't dance. And so I was horsing around, and all the ladies at the bar liked it. They liked my ink tattoo and my stripy tank. I told Mary Kay Doyle.
You wore the stripy tank? You wore the stripy tank last night on your date?
Oh yeah.
Just like this.
So what you're wearing now?
What you see is what you get.
I went to bed and woke up, and now I have day 2 socks. I did change my shoes though. So anyway, Chris, of all people, thought she was too drunk, right? So first off, let that thing sink in. I've never told anyone that she's drunk. So I said, that's it. It's time to go. Let's go. And she didn't want to leave. And I took her drink away from her and, playfully. And then I turn around and she's got her drink again. So finally I had to really be strict with her and say, all right, we got to go. Come on. No, I'm not letting you drive me home. No. And I was like, look, let me just drive you home. And then I'll send you a lift tomorrow to come get your car. It's like, it's the houses that are, it's about 5 blocks away from Brittany's, Chris.
Okay.
So she said, no. And then, so I was like, all right, fine. I'll follow you back. So I whipped around and waited for her to get out. And she wasn't doing anything. The brake lights were on though. So I get out to figure out what she's doing, and she hadn't even started the car yet. She's just sitting there with her foot on the brake and her key in her lap.
That's
So
not good, man.
I say, Maria, let's go. Come on. I'm going to drive you, or you're going to have to get it in gear. So we finally get back to her house, and she gets out of the car, and I say, okay, do you want me to help you get in? No, I'm fine. She got kind of that snarky drunk, not real bad, but just like, no, I'm fine, like that.
Yeah.
And then and so I sit in my car and wait for her. And again, she's not, like, the door's not opening. So I go over there and help her, and she's telling me that you have to push the key in and then push the actual cylinder, like the little part that the key goes in. You have to push that in and then turn it. So we're both there for like 10 minutes trying to open this door, and we finally got it. And that was it.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds exciting.
I guess it was kind of anticlimactic.
It could make for an awkward Monday, maybe. I don't know.
No, she was concerned. This morning she said, "How did I get home?" And I said, "Oh yeah, you had 3 Long Islands, and I followed you home." She's like, "I did not have 3. I only had 2." And then she kept texting me, "Don't tell anybody at work that I got drunk and couldn't dance."
She's gonna tell everybody.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's like, I'm not 20 years old. I'm not gonna run around and tell everyone you got drunk.
How old is she?
I don't know. She's old enough to not have to worry about it. I don't know. She's maybe in her 40s.
Yeah. Okay. So about 20 years, your junior.
20 or 25. Round up, round down, whatever.
Okay. Well, that's
Chris,
awesome.
Did you tell the boys that you're gonna pull the trigger and do your garden?
No, I haven't done that yet. That was not on my list. I'll add it. I'll add it to the list for a future episode.
Oh, you had it on another list?
I do now, as of literally right now. So I'm glad Jerry's here. Jerry, do you have a minute?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Do I have a minute for what?
Jared, our producer, has an announcement. He's been working on something for a while, and I was kind of waiting. I thought it'd be better if all 4 of us were here, along with the chat for him to present it. If that's okay with you, Jared, are you cool with that?
Yeah.
What are you coming out, Jared?
That's next month, dude. We're doing the gay pride.
Yeah, that's
next month.
For being advocates of homosexuality, we sure do say the word gay a lot.
Yeah. So,
Cat got your tongue.
I've been trying to do this for a while, and I finally decided to just rip the Band-Aid off and get it done. But I am starting this. Let me see.
I'm going potty. If anyone talks to you, come get me a special thing, okay?
Starting this the studio. It's called Torchlight Studios. So this is my brand that I'm doing, and it's a way for people to get all these wonderful cartoons, emotes, stream overlays, and stuff like that for their streams. So you can go on and see everything that I've kind of done. You can read about me. You can go to my socials, but it's a way for you to. So I started this doing stuff for free, and I started doing it for people who didn't have access to it, and I've been doing it for a very long time. So I decided that
people like us.
I decided to finally venture into getting paid for it, and you can see here I've done quite a bit of logos. This is not even a third of. I haven't loaded all of them up,
That's
but
why it's taking so long.
I've done many different things, many different emotes, and I'm also going to. I'm not asking for sponsors because I'm actually going to be the sponsor. So
Oh wow!
people can be sponsored by Torchline Studios, and you can go onto
I
the
don't like
website
pennies.
torchlinestudios.com and check it out. But this is also going to be a spot, and I already got one loaded up already.
Shit.
But you can go get some merch for the Meld.
That's awesome.
Now, are you doing this? Are you doing these the merchandise like drop ship, so where you don't have an inventory?
Exactly. So you can go
Awesome.
directly. So I'm not doing anything. So you can go get merch. One product's on there already. By tomorrow there'll be many different products, so you can get the Meld logo on.
Is this real
That's
world?
cool,
Is it,
man.
I mean, the Meld cup is up on the thing now.
It is on there now.
Yeah, he's
it's
right
available.
now. That's fucking awesome, dude.
Good products, good quality.
That is awesome.
I have ordered many things through this shop, so this tumbler is actually really good quality, and the images on there don't fade, they don't scratch. I've had a cup of mine for a very long time, but you're going to be able to go in there. This is a place where you can go get stuff custom designed to you, and then you can get some Torchline stuff. But there's going to be a whole section. Right now it's under streamers. I'm going to add one that says podcast, but you'll be able to go through and get your Meld merch.
That's cool. I was not expecting
on
that.
here. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be something that hopefully takes off. I enjoy doing graphics. I enjoy making things for people. So yeah, just hoping that this goes. But yes, it's gonna be a place for you to get your Meld merch.
Yeah, but for those who aren't familiar or are new, Jared, he produces the stream, right? He produces our podcast, but he does a lot of producing for a lot of different things, and he's always it's just something that and you can tell, right? Like it's a labor of love. You could tell it's something that he's just passionate about because of the quality. You can just tell that there's he's been doing it for free for a long time, just to help people out, just because he likes to do it. And so now he's got his own thing going. And so if there's anybody who's interested in streaming or doing a podcast or whatever, reach him at Torchline Studios, because that's a sick looking website, man.
Right there in the left hand of the screen there.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool, man. I'd say one hand clapping against another makes a wonderful sound for Torchline.
Yeah,
good job.
The Meld has its first sponsor.
Oh, we're sponsored now. Oh, look at that.
Allegedly.
Just kidding.
All right, good. Well, I mean, now that we got Jerry here, we had some things that we were, while you were gone, we were talking about buying houses and such. And you brought up,
I'm going to punch out real quick, and I'll be right back.
That's cool.
Alrighty.
Okay. All right. In that case, Jared, if you would, let's actually, you know what? Let's real quick, Patrick. So as and I can call you Slumlord Patrick now, right? Because now we've got to the point of the story where you're a landlord. So we'll call you Slumlord Patrick, right? Okay.
Yes. Rented out the rooms.
Yeah, you're renting out rooms to people, and now so you live in the house that you're not currently, but in this part of the where you're at now. Currently, you're in a house by yourself. Like
yes.
You just recently, within the past less than a year ago, I guess, or maybe a year ago.
Less than a year ago. It's going to be
less than a year ago, right?
As of July, end of July.
But you kept the other house and you're still renting that house out to people.
Yes, exactly.
And then
Exactly.
the house that you mentioned earlier, that your parents are still in that house.
Yes, they're still in that house.
So you really are like a slumlord. Like you're smacking your parents up for the month, the mortgage every month, and your tenants in Texas better pay up or get out. Is that how it goes?
Pretty much, except for my parents. My parents, I actually, that's the reverse slumlord on that one. I'm paying for the mortgage, and they live there for pretty much for free.
For your parents. That's good, man. That's really cool, man.
Yeah,
That's super
yeah.
cool.
But yeah, so rented out a room. So that's why. I
Yeah.
consider
So
myself
if Calera, if my daughter's listening, that's what you want to do. You want to pay for your parents' mortgage. You know, when you get to that point, you want to. I'm just kidding. Don't worry about me. We're good.
Paid off by the time she's able to pay it off.
Hey, what's up, Jerry?
Sorry about that, guys. My silver fox of a car is very it's 2017, so the Bluetooth is not what it is on more modern cars.
Sure.
And yeah, it kicks my audio off of both if I don't have it. Never mind. I'm back.
You're back.
No, we can hear you now. Perfect.
Oh, I got some good news about houses. Yesterday, 2 days ago, my daughter-in-law Mina and I were chatting. We're doing gardening stuff together, you know. And in the backyard, the downspout at some point was run to the back of the fence so it wouldn't pool water right there. Yep. And but they took it off. Whoever took it off. And so now the water pools right by the house, and there's nowhere for it to go. There's a giant tree back there. It's probably about 200 years old that has roots. You know, the ground's eroded so bad that majority of the backyard is roots. You know, like when you erode a little bit and the roots start popping up. So we were discussing that we needed to get some dirt, some fill dirt, and fill it in. And the very next day, Eli sent the picture of a dump truck full of fill dirt. Like good dirt, like topsoil fill dirt, and because he started an asphalt paving company, so he's got you know, his truck and the big trailer and the Bobcat, and so he's like, yeah, we got all this dirt you guys want, because he knows we've been gardening, and so Mina and I manifested, quite literally manifested that fill dirt. It was pretty amazing, but. He came and spread the front yard out the side of the house because that downspout is leaking right into from there too. But the backyard, we couldn't get the Bobcat back there, so I got to go home now. And after the show, I'm going to go scoop up John Fallon, and we're going to move this dirt around in the backyard. It's really exciting stuff.
Oh, good. All right. Well, yeah. Give John my best.
Well,
yeah. Speaking of eroding, are you going to get to the Wi-Fi anytime soon? Maybe.
What do you mean? Is my signal crappy?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lag on your audio too, because it took you an hour to answer that question.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Yep.
We can deal with it. I can punch out and get everyone a due.
Have fun today, Jerry. We love you.
Oh,
right,
I got my signal. Okay. All right. Tell Ziggy bye-bye. Oh, you're not probably not supposed to be on the podcast, right? He's not allowed to say bye.
Okay, that's fine.
To say it. All right. Love you guys. Sorry today. Next week. I love all my fans. All right, bye.
And he's gone.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, and we should be back to normal next week. So all right, so one of the okay, I'm juggling some topics here and staying on base because we had so as slumlord Patrick, right? I had a couple of Mishka. I had a couple of topics. And a lot of them were kind of like dependent on what time Jerry was going to be on, and we had it all going, and now it's, you know, so we're adjusting again. we were going to talk about work, but one of the things that I was going to talk about was okay, we were talking about buying houses, was dating your coworkers. So I thought it was hilarious that he actually brought that up. That because yeah, right. And then I was
That's
gonna,
perfect timing.
right. It was perfect timing, but now he's gone. So it was a perfect segue into like, what if, just hypothetically, Jared, I don't know if you've been in a situation where you've rented out rooms to other people before, but hypothetically, let's just say that you were. Did you ever develop like a relationship with one of your tenants? Would you have, you know what I mean? And if so, how would that go, Patrick?
I knew this is coming. So,
Slumlord
yeah.
Patrick.
Anyways, I rented out the room.
It's time to pay the rent.
Rented out a room, and obviously during lockdown, we didn't really go out, so we got pretty close with everybody in the house, right? We would watch movies or hung out with each other because, well, we couldn't do anything else. So everybody just got pretty close to each other. The girl I rented out one of the rooms to, ended up having some feelings for me.
Sure.
We ended up going out and dated for a little bit, which was obviously a little strange. Highly do not recommend you ever doing that ever again, by the way. Or if you ever done it, get out of it. But if you never done it, don't do it. Because it's a weird situation. Because if anything were to happen, which quite a few times it did, where like, hey, we didn't agree on something, or like, hey, like we had, when you're in dating phase, like sometimes you have like little, I would say most of the time it's like honeymoon, but then sometimes you would have little bits of like, oh, I don't really agree with you. It's like, oh, okay, well, I don't agree with you either. Nothing about like politics or anything. But what ended up happening was, we didn't really got too comfortable, and it's kind of awkward. But the problem is we go back to the same house.
Exactly.
And then it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to my room and you go to your room, right? So it's like you can't really leave that space. And then it becomes awkward where
it's awkward,
I want to cook dinner and then she comes out at the same time and it's like, oh, how you doing?
Ouch.
It's like it becomes super awkward. And
there's other roommates, right?
And so that's what's even worse. So there's other roommates, and then they notice these, and they'll be like, "What's happening?" Right? And then obviously we try to keep it normal, where we didn't tell the other roommates that we went out, right?
Yeah, but they know, man. Come on, they figure that shit out.
Yeah, obviously they figure it out, but they don't say anything, and then it's just like obviously it gets to a point where it gets super awkward, where they would come in, they would see us, and then we'll be like in the kitchen, and then they'll literally take one look and then turn around, walk away, and then next thing you know, 30 minutes later, you hear the doorbell ring, and the DoorDash is like right outside the door.
They're paying money not to see you guys argue.
Yeah, pretty much. So anyways, bad experience. Don't ever do that.
And I would say the same thing for not everybody, not every scenario, but I would make the same general recommendation. Let me just put it that way. When it comes to workplace relationships, because it's very similar, right? Like, depending on, like, I mean, if we're not talking about like Jan from accounting in another building or another floor or whatever, that's one thing. But I mean, if you're working in the same like department, or if you have visual contact throughout the day, that's that can make for some awkward bullshit for not just the two of you, but like really, just so you know, everybody fucking else knows.
Yeah,
you might think they don't, but they do.
But I definitely made that super awkward, and it didn't help that we kind of had an argument, and then it boiled out into the living room area. And it was just like yelling back and forth, and I was just like, dude, I was like, this is so embarrassing. I mean, all the other roommates are in their room, they're obviously hearing this shit, and it's just like, listen, let's stop. And I was like, let's not talk about this here. But but she wouldn't have it. She was like, no, we're gonna talk about it now.
Oh God,
And
I hate
then
that
it was
shit,
just
man.
like I was like, all right, fine, you can talk about it. And then, obviously she's yelling at me, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna be the cool guy and just be chill, because the moment I raise my voice even more, it's just adding fuel to the fire,
Yep.
adding fuel to the
Yep.
fire. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be, cordial, and I'm be respectful, and then hopefully she comes down. But it just made her even more angry, because
Yep.
she's like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to see that, oh,
What are you trying to be an adult?
yeah, well, it wasn't like that exactly, but it was
Yeah, I
pretty
get
much
it.
like you're trying to be quiet, like they probably know by now that, like we've been dating, and obviously they spilled the beans. I was like, okay, well, I was like, sure, at this point, whatever you say, I don't care anymore, right?
Yep.
But eventually, yeah, it got to a point where she kind of had to move out, right? Because it got very
Okay, there
awkward.
it is.
Got very awkward.
Okay,
And
so how did
yeah,
that go? Was there like a financial exchange? Was there? Did you like
so
make her pay up, or like how did that go down?
so here's the thing: she got
Was she
really
trying to
angry at
not pay rent because she was like, "Hey, we're together. I shouldn't have to pay rent."
So luckily, she did not do that.
Okay, all right.
So even though we had an argument, it was towards the end of the month. I got my payment right on time.
So okay, so from argument to her getting out. Well, what are we talking about here? Time
Oh, it
frame.
was like it was a couple months at least,
Okay,
if
yeah,
not
okay,
longer.
that makes
Yeah,
more sense. Yeah.
yeah. It wasn't right away, so it was a couple
Yeah.
months. Yeah, and then funny enough, she moved out around the time I moved out, so it was like kind of a perfect timing. But she's like, I don't want to live here anymore. But here's the thing: she had, I wouldn't say she had anger issues. I feel like she does have
It
anger
sounds like
issues.
she might have, but I don't know the whole story. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she threw. So she would get angry. She would drink wine, and then one time, like in her room, she threw the bottle of wine against the wall. Well, if the wine bottles are actually pretty heavy. First of all, second, they're pretty. They're not easily breakable as you
Yeah.
think they might be, right?
Yeah.
Um,
It's not like the
so when
movies
it
where it's
happening,
like
exactly,
stab people.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty hard to break them. So she threw against the wall. Instead of the wine bottle breaking, it made a huge dent
In the drywall.
in the drywall. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when she moved out, she's like, "Hey, I have to pay for that. So whatever my deposit is, whatever it costs to pay for that, just deduct it from my deposit." And I was like, tech. And but this is what she added at the end. I was like, technically, it's not my fault because you made me mad. And
That's a pretty fucking childish thing to say.
I was like, I have no control over your anger issues, right? If you're mad at me, that's fine. It's your choice to lash it out or not, right? It's my choice to not deal with you, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going back to my room to not deal with you. It's your choice to either hold it in, and if you can't hold it in, do something about it. But if that's how you release your anger, that's fine. But don't blame it on me, right? Um, but then at that point, I was like, there's no talking sense into her at that point. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, anyways, I'm still going to deduct it from your deposit. And she's like, that's fine. I was like, okay, perfect. At least she's owning to that. She's owning to that, right? So anyways,
She still thinks it's your fault.
she still thinks it's my fault. Yes,
Yeah.
she thinks the whole situation is my fault. So anyways, she finally moved out, and then I got someone else to move in. Yeah, and that's it.
Yep. When's the last time you talked to her? You guys talk at all?
We're actually still friends. So
Okay, so
so
I didn't know that. That's fucking weird to me. But I know.
Chris was like, I was getting ready to talk some shit.
I still
no,
am.
you can talk shit. That's fine. That's fine.
No, but I guess about me, because I've noticed this about other people, that they're still friends with or still acquaintances with like their ex boyfriends and girlfriends and whatever. Like for me, and I haven't. I look, dude. I've been off the scene for 20 years now. You know what I mean? My wife and I have been married for 18 and 17, and we've been together. So we've been together for like 19 years. I've been off the dating scene for a long time. But even when I was like, it would be to a point. Okay, we're not talking ever again. Okay, to a point. All right, we're not talking ever. I've never maintained. What do you call it? A friendship? Is that what you said? You guys are friends now? Like I've
we're just
never
friends.
never done that, and I don't know if it's with my ex-wife and my daughter's mom. We've always stayed in contact for her, right? Like we've always been, we're raising a kid, regardless. But and even today, like after that, it's like I make a conscious effort to remember like her birthday just to text her, or we don't talk at all. There's no reason to talk. It sounds kind of, I mean, maybe it is kind of shallow, but it's like, we're not fucking friends.
I will cross the bridge and I will light a fucking match and throw it behind me and burn that fucking bridge. I am not friends with any of my exes.
Yeah, it's over. It's done.
Done.
That's it. And it's always been like, okay. And this is the advice I give to people that are like going through a breakup or like, okay, just fucking delete the number, dude. And it's not easy, right? I get that. It's but fucking forget about them.
Listening to Patrick, I was like, this is why I tell people you should always live together before getting married, because
it's true.
That's a true test right there.
It is.
Yeah.
Relationships are they're like a tug of war. Like when you first start dating, it's like who's jockeying for position in a way. You're like that phase that you mentioned earlier where they're kind of like feeling each other out, and I guess relationships in general, right? But we're specific to relationships. It's like and you know this about me. I told you this actually. I would always know Patrick found a new girlfriend or started dating somebody when we would stop logging in for like months at a time. Be like, oh, yeah, this guy's got a fucking girlfriend now. And sure enough, we find out, yep, oh yeah, I just broke up with my girlfriend. I was like, I fucking knew it, man. You had a girlfriend that whole time. Like, oh, Patrick just logged in. I guess he broke up with somebody. That's and that's what it is. I think you see a lot of people that and I don't know how much of this, I don't like age, experience, whatever. I mean, it was a different time for me, but I see a lot of people, they're not kind of upfront about the things that they are into. You kind of, we're trying to impress the other person, right? You're trying to leave a good impression, and in your head, you're thinking, okay, well, what is a good impression? You're kind of putting yourself in that person's shoes and like, well, what would I do to make that person, if I was that person, leave me with a good impression? And I think a lot of people, it's funny, man. Like if you go to the gym a lot and like that's like what you're passionate about, or something like that, you're like, yeah, I go to the gym all the time, I work out. But if you're somebody, but then like the other half of your personality is like playing video games or watching movies or snowboarding or fucking whatever, they people like don't bring that up. And so when the two people move in together and then they realize that you play video games for 4 hours a day, they're like, yo, what the fuck? I didn't know you played video games for like 4 hours a day. I've seen so many people do this and they start arguing about it. And it's like, okay, you should be allowed to do the things that you want to do, right? You've always done them. But the other person too, if they don't know that you've always done them, it's new to them. And you got to have been in a relationship for like 6 months, a year, like whatever. And it's like this whole other side of you that they don't know about. And it's almost not fair to that person. So I always tell people, like, straight up, if you're looking for a relationship, just be honest about everything, like yourself, because if that person's not okay with who you are and the things you do, even if they're not into those things, especially if they're not into those things, like if they're not into those things and they still want to spend time with you, or if you're not into the things that they're into, but you still want to spend time with them, then you guys start compromising and doing things, and you find yourself in a meaningful relationship in time. You know what I mean?
Honestly, it's just too much work to lie. Then you got to remember the lie, and you got to remember who you told the lie to. Just be honest. That's all.
Just
That's all
be
it comes down
yourself.
to, man.
Be yourself.
Be yourself.
That's
Yep.
yeah. That's I think that's the problem that that kind of end up happening with my previous, I guess, with her is I wasn't my true self, right? I was just like, okay, well, we're during COVID. I'm gonna try to be a little bit more open minded and
Yep.
try to do things that are different from what I used to do. And I was like, oh, I didn't really like it, but she liked that other Patrick, right? Not my real Patrick. And that's why I realized, okay, I shouldn't have changed my personality to kind of fit like what I
Yeah.
think is a better version of me. Let's just say a better version of me, to be a little bit more outgoing, to do more random stuff, right? I'm more of a structured person. That's my personality.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
But she's a lot more outgoing in terms of she likes to do random things, right? And that's kind of what ended up happening, essentially.
Yeah, and that's cool that you can recognize that about yourself, though, because a lot of people don't. I see a lot of people in relationships get cyclical. It's like people change when they're dating.
Yes.
Right? Have you ever seen? I got a buddy named Eric, man. And like one day he was, we were like into metal and punk and like all the like heavy music and shit, man. And then like one day he pops in some like what the fuck, man? It was what's that guy? Jimmy Buffett, man. He pops in some Jimmy Buffett, and we're like, what are you doing, man? He's like, man, this is pretty good, man. Like, this is some good. I like Jimmy Buffett, man. We're like, what the fuck, man? When did you start listening to Jimmy Buffett? And then we realized his girlfriend was into Jimmy Buffett. We're like, man, come on, dude. Like, it's cool. If you're into it, it's cool. No big deal. But like, come on, man. Like, that's not you, bro.
Don't change yourself. Don't change yourself for someone else, because you can only hold that persona for so long. I'll tell you that.
You know what? And there's also, I see in people, there's also a resentment, an internal resentment. Like, it's not in the conscious, it's in the subconscious, where they're like, you can just tell they're like upset or on edge, or because you're not being yourself. You're kind of, like you said, you're kind of lying to yourself, and your brain fucking, processes this shit, emotionally. That's what I've seen anyway. And I've been there too. It's just, it's been a long time. Yeah. So what else did I have? I mean, I think I don't have a whole lot more. I mean, if you guys want to, I don't know what you had going on over there, Jared. If you had, I know we do something at the end usually, but this is a different episode. So moving forward, I believe it's still going to be the same time. It's still going to be the four of us. Jerry just had a thing today, that he did, and we're proud of him. Happy for him. It's cool. He's seeing his granddaughter. I'm not that they don't see each other all the time, but I'm glad he tuned in with that fucking shirt he was wearing too, in public. But I don't know if you put anything together or what, if you had something on the way out. If anybody else in the chat has any ideas for things to talk about maybe in the future, you guys always throw those out there for us. But
so we'll talk about it a little bit. So at the end of the show, so the first one we did, we went after Patrick, and we did the vegetarian techno, and then
which was awesome.
I did one of Christian and Jerry together,
which was also awesome.
And then we did one of Jerry last week about his star tattoo, which
that's right.
I screenshotted him today because I got more content to make with his tattoos.
I can't wait to see this.
This time I'm coming after Christian.
I gotta see this now.
All right, stay to the end, guys. And if I don't see you, then we'll see you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you all.
Well, Christian had a dream and a Zillow page. Champagne visions, but his wallet said minimum wage. Got a house on his mind, but a chain on his past, so he filed that Chapter 7 just to move on fast. Now the lenders came knocking, thinking he'd fold, but he kept them on hold like a story half told. Every 90 days he played the game, new app, new name, but the hustle stayed the same. A loophole legend in the paperwork parade. He said it's all legal, baby, just delayed. Yeah, Christian's credit took a dive and a nap, but he's house hunting now with a lawyer's map. 90 days later he's ghosting again with a smile and a pen, like it's all pretend. Old house underwater, mortgage in flames. He said, this ain't fraud, I just read the game. Bank 1, bank 2, and 3 on the list. They all got pinned and he don't even miss. HOA's weeping, realtors pray, but Christian's got Zillow on speed dial today. Every 90 days he'd restart the track, get a shiny new quote, then never call back. Gotta wait for approval, he'd politely say, while clicking next property halfway through the day. Yeah, shady to some, but he swears it's legit. Bankruptcy blues with a full legal kit. 90 days later he's moving right in with a grin and a box full of lawyer spin. You too can buy a house with no guilt and some flair. Just file, stall, smile, and act unaware. Every 90 days he's back in the game, finessing those lenders with no shame. Christian, the king of the housing finesse, got approved with a pass, still in distress. Now he's got a porch swing and a key in hand, mortgage-free vibes on loophole land. So raise a glass to the paperwork prince. He beat the system ever since.